The first thing I remember is the smell. Not smoke, exactly. More like a campfire from far away, carried on the breeze. I was watering the petunias on the back porch, enjoying the late afternoon sun. Cedar Ridge always felt so peaceful this time of day. Then, the silence broke. A siren started wailing in the distance, a long, mournful cry that seemed to hang in the air. My heart did a little stutter step. We get sirens sometimes, but this one felt different. Heavier. My phone buzzed on the patio table, then it buzzed again, and again. A frantic vibration against the wood. Primera picked it up, and the screen was lit with an emergency alert. The words blurred together at first, just a jumble of capital letters. Wildfire. Mandatory evacuation. Cedar Ridge. Leave immediately. My breath caught in my throat. Immediately, I looked up at the sky. The horizon, which had been a clear blue just minutes ago, was now smudged with a sickly orange-gray haze. The distant campfire smell was stronger now, sharp and acrid. Panic, cold and sharp, shot through me. My mind went blank for a second. What do you take? What do you leave behind? The house, this place filled with 20 years of memories, suddenly felt like a trap. I ran inside, my bare feet slapping against the cool tile. The TV was already blaring the news. A reporter pointing at a map with a rapidly expanding red zone. Our street was right on the edge of it. My hands started shaking. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet, my movements clumsy and uncoordinated. What matters? Photos. I pulled albums off the shelf, their weight feeling both immense and insignificant. The pictures of the kids when they were little. Holidays, birthdays, a whole life captured on glossy paper. I stuffed them into the bag. Then, my laptop, my wallet, the old jewelry box my grandmother gave me. Each item felt like a monumental decision. The dog, Buster, was whining at my feet, sensing the terror that was radiating off me. I clipped on his leash, his frantic panting matching the beat of my own racing heart. Outside, the world had transformed. The air was thick and tasted of ash. The beautiful golden light was gone, replaced by an eerie, apocalyptic glow. Neighbors were running out of their houses, throwing bags into cars, shouting to each other over the now deafening sirens. The scene was pure chaos. I could see the flames then, not just the smoke. They were on the ridge behind our house, a monstrous, roaring wall of orange devouring the trees I'd watched grow for decades. The sound was a physical thing, a deep, guttural roar that vibrated in my chest. I fumbled with my car keys, my fingers feeling like useless sausages. I got Buster into the back seat and threw the bag next to him. As I slammed the door shut, I took one last look at my home. The petunias I'd just watered were already wilting in the intense, dry heat. The porch swing my husband built was swaying gently in the hot, smoky wind. It felt like I was looking at a photograph of a life that was about to be erased. A wave of grief so profound it almost buckled my knees, washed over me. Driving away was a nightmare. The street was clogged with cars, a slow-moving river of panic. Horns blared. People were crying. Through my rearview mirror, I watched the smoke plume billow up. A giant, angry fist punching the sky. It was consuming everything. I didn't know if I'd have a home to come back to. I didn't know what would be left of Cedar Ridge. All I knew was the primal, desperate urge to drive, to get away from the roaring beast that was chasing us. In that moment, all that mattered was the road ahead, the asphalt ribbon leading away from the fire, and the hope, however fragile, of survival. Ethan co-watches evacuation trucks leave. He quietly turns back, wearing his old fire jacket one last time. The forest floor crackled, a hellscape of orange and black. For firefighter Ethan, this was just another Tuesday. Another line to hold against the insatiable hunger of the wildfire. He adjusted the helmet on his head, sweat beading on his brow as he scanned the tree line. A wall of flame roaring in the distance. The air was thick with smoke, a toxic soup that stung the eyes and choked the lungs. His radio, usually a cacophony of commands and status updates, was eerily quiet, punctuated only by static. Then, a voice cut through the noise. Faint, desperate. It was a whisper on the wind, almost lost to the fire's fury. Ethan froze, pressing the receiver to his ear. The voice came again, laced with panic. A school bus, trapped. And children, his blood ran cold. The fire wasn't just a force of nature anymore. It was a monster, and it was closing in on the innocent. Adrenaline surged through him, sharpening his senses. "This is Unit 7. I have a civilian distress call. Possibly Entramen. I need coordinates," he barked into his radio, his voice steady, despite the tremor in his hands. The reply was garbled, broken by the fire's interference. He wouldn't get a clean signal. It was up to him. He pulled out his thermal imaging monocular, a piece of tech that could see heat signatures through the dense smoke. He began to scan, section by section, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The voice on the radio, a teacher by the sound of it, was growing more hysterical. He could hear the faint cries of children in the background. "Just hold on," Ethan muttered, as if they could hear him. "I'm coming!" He plunged into the woods, the fire licking at the edges of his path. The heat was a physical blow, a solid wall he had to push through. A massive, burning pine tree groaned and then crashed to the ground just ahead of him, sending a shower of sparks into the air. He didn't flinch, just altered his course, his eyes glued to the monocular screen, searching for a sign. There, a large rectangular heat signature, distinct from the chaotic blaze around it. The bus. He sprinted, his heavy gear feeling like it was made of lead. He burst through a curtain of smoke and saw it, a big yellow ghost shrouded in a gray-black haze. The fire was mere yards away, climbing the surrounding trees like a predator scaling a cage. Smoke poured from the bus's windows. He could hear coughing and terrified sobs from within. The door was jammed, warped by the intense heat. No time. He swung his Halligan bar, the steel tool biting into the safety glass of a side window. Once, twice, and on the third swing, the window spiderwebbed and shattered. He cleared the remaining shards and hoisted himself inside. The scene was one of controlled chaos. A young teacher was trying her best to keep the children calm, her face pale with fear but her voice firm. "Everyone, listen to the firefighter. Say, yell it." Ethan's presence was an anchor in their storm of panic. "Okay, everyone, listen to me," he said, his voice projecting calm authority. "We're going to play a game. It's called Follow the Leader. I'm the leader, and you all have to stay right behind me. Can you do that?" A few small, tear-streaked faces nodded. He helped them out, one by one, into the smoky air, their small hands clinging to his protective gear. "This way. Cover your mouths," they instructed, leading the small, coughing procession away from the doomed bus. He had them form a human chain, each child holding onto the shirt of the one in front, with the teacher taking up the rear. The path was treacherous, a smoldering labyrinth of fallen branches and embers that glowed like malevolent eyes in the gloom. He was their shield, using his body to block them from the worst of the heat, his mind racing to find the safest route through the burning maze. He kept talking to them, his voice a constant, reassuring presence. He told them about his dog, about his favorite ice cream, anything to distract them from the terrifying roar of the fire that seemed to be everywhere at once. The smoke was a constant enemy, but they pushed on, a tiny island of hope in an ocean of destruction. Then, through the haze, he heard it. The rhythmic thumping of rotor blades. Hope, real and tangible, was descending from the sky. He urged them forward, their small legs struggling to keep up. Almost there. "I hear the helicopter." They stumbled into a small clearing, a patch of green, miraculously untouched by the flames. And there it was, hovering just above the treetops. A rescued helicopter lowering a basket. The wind from its blades was a welcome relief, pushing back the smoke and heat. One by one, he helped the children into the basket, their frightened eyes finally showing a glimmer of relief. He gave a thumbs up to the teacher as she was lifted up after the last child. As the helicopter ascended, carrying its precious cargo to safety, Ethan sank to his knees. He was exhausted, caked in soot and sweat, every muscle aching. He watched until the helicopter was just a speck in the sky, the sound of its blades fading into the distance. A smile touched his lips. The fire still raged around him, a battle far from over, but in this small corner of the war, he had won. The children were safe, and for a firefighter, there is no greater victory. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this story of heroism, please consider subscribing for more. Stay safe. Out there, flames surround him. Oxygen low. Visibility gone. Ethan moves forward anyway. The engine sputtered, coughed, and died. Silence. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white. The old bus shuddered one last time, a final sigh, before settling into the stillness of the mountain pass. Outside, the wind howled, a lonely, mournful sound that seemed to claw at the thin metal walls. I was stranded. Just me, this metal box, and a road that had vanished behind a wall of rock and mud. The journey had started with such hope. A new life, a clean slate, everything packed into a few bags in the back. I'd pushed on, ignoring the darkening sky and the first few drops of rain that splattered against the windshield. The weather forecast had warned of a storm, but I was stubborn. I just wanted to get there, to leave the old me behind on the other side of this mountain. Now, it seemed the mountain had other plans. I tried the radio, just static. The phone. No signal for miles. I peered out the front window. The road ahead was a mess of debris, but it looked passable. It was the road behind that was the problem. A landslide. A huge, roaring beast of mud and rock had completely swallowed the path I'd just driven. There was no going back. For the first hour, I just sat there, frozen. Panic is a cold, creeping thing. It starts in your stomach and slowly paralyzes you. My mind raced with all the wrong things. What if no one finds me? How long can I last? The small bag of chips and the half-empty bottle of water on the passenger seat suddenly looked pathetic. But then, something shifted. Maybe it was the sheer absurdity of it all. Here I was, running from my problems, only to run straight into a wall of dirt. I started to laugh, a hollow, humorless sound that echoed in the empty bus. Okay, universe, you have my attention. I knew sitting here was a death sentence. The cold was already seeping through my thin jacket. The bus offered some shelter, but it was a tomb waiting. Primera de... To move, I had to find a way forward. Stepping out of the bus was like stepping onto another planet. The air was thin and bitingly cold. The wind tore at me, trying to push me back. I looked at the landslide behind me, a chaotic jumble of earth, uprooted trees, and massive boulders. It was impossible. Then I looked ahead. The road was treacherous, littered with smaller rocks and deep, muddy puddles. But it was there. It was a path. My heart pounded against my ribs. Every step was a calculation. One loose rock, one slip in the mud, and I could tumble down the steep cliff face that dropped away just inches from the edge of the road. The drop was terrifying. A dizzying plunge into a misty abyss. I kept my eyes fixed on the ground, just in front of me, focusing on one step. 10T, next. My feet were soaked, my hands numb. I scrambled over fallen branches and navigated around rocks the size of small cars. With every yard I covered, a strange sense of calm began to settle over me. The fear was still there, a constant hum in the back of my mind, but it was no longer in control. I was focused. Primera, Juá, es alive. This wasn't just about surviving a landslide anymore. It was about proving something to myself. All the failures, the regrets, the person I was trying to escape, they didn't matter out here. All that mattered was the next step, the next breath. The mountain wasn't trying to kill me. It was testing me. It was stripping away everything non-essential until only the will to live remained. Hours bled into one another. The sky began to lighten in the east, painting the clouds in shades of gray and pale pink. And then I saw it. Far in the distance, a single, flickering light. A house. A small town. It didn't matter, it was a sign. It was hope. A new surge of adrenaline coursed through me. I picked up my pace, my legs burning, my lungs screaming for air. I stumbled, fell, and got back up. My eyes locked on that tiny beacon of light. I left the wrecked road, the dead bus, and the landslide behind me. I was walking away from my old life. But this time, I wasn't running. I was walking towards something new. I didn't know what I would find when I reached that light, but I knew one thing for sure. The man who arrived would not be the same one who had left. Thanks for watching. If you've ever faced a moment that changed everything, share your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more tales of survival and the human spirit. Stay safe out there. Using old training and pure instinct, Ethan cuts through fire lines by hand, shielding the bus. At dawn, helicopters find the bus. Every child is alive. Ethan collapses. In the quiet, forgotten town of Cedar Ridge, where silence echoes louder than footsteps, one building still gleams with purpose. The old fire station. Here, amidst relics of a busier past, lives Ethan. He's not just a resident, he's a guardian, the town's last line of defense. Every day, he polishes the vintage fire truck, a gleaming red symbol of a promise he made to this place, a promise to protect it. No matter what, he's the last firefighter of Cedar Ridge. But on the horizon, a monster stirs. They call it the Inferno of 23. A colossal wall of fire, consuming everything in its path, now turns its hungry gaze towards Cedar Ridge. The wind carries the scent of smoke and the roar of destruction, a terrifying drumbeat signaling the town's potential end. At the heart of the town, in the fire's direct path, stands the historic town hall. It's more than just a building. It's a library of memories, holding the birth certificates, marriage licenses, and photographs of generations. It holds the very soul of Cedar Ridge. As the Inferno descends, Ethan doesn't hesitate. This is the moment he has trained for, the battle he was destined to fight. Alone. It's a surreal dance of one man against a force of nature. Flames leap hundreds of feet into the air, painting the night sky in terrifying shades of orange and red. The heat is unbearable, the smoke a choking blanket. But through it all, Ethan moves with a focused intensity. He's a whirlwind of motion, dragging heavy hoses, spraying down structures, creating fire breaks with sheer grit and a will of iron. Every drop of water is a prayer, every safe inch of ground a victory. He isn't just fighting the fire. He's fighting to keep memories alive, battling the erasure of his home. His face, etched with soot and determination, reflects the flickering blaze. He's outmatched, outnumbered by a billion embers, but he will not back down. The flames are now licking at the steps of the town hall. The air crackles with groans under the extreme heat, and it seems all hope is lost. This is the final stand. In a moment of desperate genius, Ethan turns to his trusted partner. The vintage fire truck. It's an old machine, a relic from a bygone era, but he knows its power. With a roar that defies its age, the truck surges forward. It's a final, audacious gambit. Ethan positions the truck, using its powerful water cannon as a shield, a last barrier between the Inferno and the heart of his town. He stands on the engine, a solitary figure against a maelstrom of fire, making a defiant last stand for everything he holds dear. He disappears into the smoke and fury, a hero facing down the apocalypse. As the first light of dawn pierces through the smoky haze, an eerie silence falls. The raging monster is gone. The Inferno of 23 has been extinguished at the very edge of town, and there, standing tall amidst the scorched earth, is the town hall, scarred but saved. A figure emerges from the smoke, covered head to toe in soot, leaning against the old fire truck, exhausted but unbroken. It's Ethan. He looks at the preserved building, a silent testament to his impossible victory. In that quiet dawn, his legacy is forged in smoke and ash. He's more than just a man. A is a legend. The last firefighter of Cedar Ridge. Thank you for watching this incredible story of courage. If you were as moved as we were, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories. We'll see you next time.